So let's go ahead and get right into the different phases. Now, truthfully, I can probably come up with about 10 different phases, but there are about 7 common phases that you'll see a lot of trainers use. Now, I'm going to tell you kind of how to use these phases here in just a second. Okay. But let me walk you through what the phases are. So first of all, every single phase that I'm talking about has a completely different dynamic. Okay. There's going to be a different number of sets. There's going to be a different number of reps. There's going to be a different amount of rest. Your exercise split is going to be different depending on the phase that you're in. Your exercise selection is going to be different depending on what phase you're in. Okay. I think I said your rest time. Your rest time is going to be different depending on what phase you're in. And more importantly, or another thing is your lifting speed is going to be different depending on what phase you're in. Okay. So here are the phases, and there's just 7 basic phases. Number 1, there's a strength phase. We already talked about what strength is. In a strength phase, all you're trying to do is get stronger. Okay. Number 2, there's what I call the hypertrophy phase or muscle building phase. Hypertrophy just means increase in muscle size. So increase in muscle size phase or muscle building phase. Okay. Then there's an endurance phase where the goal is literally to have more endurance, right? So you can lift or do more repetitions, right? That's an endurance phase. Okay. There is the power phase. The power phase is more if you're doing sports or if you're doing powerlifting, right? Where you're trying to generate as much force as you possibly can. And usually in the power phases, it's all about, speed, right? You want to try to push as much weight, do as much as you can in the fastest rate possible. That's kind of the power phase, right? And it's usually complex movements, right? So a lot of football players and basketball players will use the power phase. Okay. There is a tune-up phase. Okay. A tune-up phase is what I normally suggest that people get into when they first start working out with me. And it's just exactly what it is. It's tuning their body up to start working out again. In fact, I just took 2.5 weeks and went and traveled, did Europe and Spain and Paris and stuff like that not too long ago. And I took 2.5 weeks from working out. And when I came back, I had to come back and do the tune-up phase, right? Where I have to just slowly get my body into working out again. Okay. There is a big benefit to doing a tune-up phase. So any time that you take a week or 2 weeks off, you always need to do a tune-up phase. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's a little bit longer, but you need to get your body back into working out again. So you need to do the tune-up phase. Okay. There's a transition phase. Okay. A transition phase is any time that let's say you're going from a strength phase to a hypertrophy phase, right? The transition phase is literally the phase that's in between that. You're transitioning from strength to hypertrophy. Okay. So you need to have a particular style of workout that is going to help you transition into it. Okay. And then the other phase, the last phase that we're going to just discuss here is the stability or balance phase. Okay. And this is where you might see somebody doing a lot of stability ball training. Maybe they are doing BOSU ball training. Maybe they're just trying to increase stability in their shoulders, increase stability in their hips, in their low back, in their core. They're trying to do something like that. Okay. And you put a lot of emphasis on selecting certain types of exercises that are going to do stability type movements. Okay. So these are the 7 basic common phases, and that's it. So I'm going to give you a really basic example of how you can use these phases for your own particular workout. As you can tell, it's a pretty complicated thing, and I'll tell you, all of my clients, are following some system, some phase. I sit down way in advance and plan out exactly what it is. I'm monitoring their results on a monthly basis. I know exactly what's happening to their body. I know why their body is responding or not responding, right? It's not just their workout. It could be their nutrition, or it could be, that they were sick, or their habits. It could be something along that nature, but there's a lot of variables to understand, what to change and how to change. But I'm going to give you a basic example of how you can apply phases to your everyday training. Okay. So Nando asks, how long should each phase last? And that's exactly where we're going to right now. Okay. All right. So let's just say that you are going to set up your weight training program. Okay. And let's say that you want to, you have 12 weeks. Okay. you have 12 weeks. Now let's say, no, let's do 36 weeks, 6 months. Okay. We'll put it in months. Okay. So let's say you have 6 months of training. Okay. The first thing that you've got to do is you've got to understand, what is my goal? Is my goal to really focus on, in this 6 months, do I want to focus really on getting stronger? Do I want to focus really on increasing my muscle size? Or is my goal to increase my endurance? Let's just stay with those three. Okay. Just easy stuff. Okay. So let's say it's those three. Now, if you say my goal is all of that, okay, my goal is to increase strength, increase hypertrophy, increase endurance, then you could just do something like, I'm going to do a strength phase for 8 weeks or 2 months. Then I'm going to do a hypertrophy phase for 2 months. And then I'm going to do an endurance phase for 2 months. Okay. And now you've been able to do all of them. That's one way to do it. Or let's just say that that's your goal, is to do all three of those. You could do, hey, I'm going to do strength for 1 month, and then I'm going to do hypertrophy for 1 month, and then I'm going to go back to strength for 1 month, and then I'm going to do endurance for 1 month, and then I'm going to do, you can mix and match. You get the idea of what I'm trying to do. Okay. Now I'll tell you this, that most people, okay, that come and see me, okay, they want to build muscle. Right? They're like, hey man, I want to build muscle. What do I got to do? So I'll make it a little bit simpler to understand in a 3-month time period. Okay. If I know that their goal is to build muscle, then let's say I have 3 months to kind of build this little cycle. I will probably do 4 weeks or a month of muscle building, the hypertrophy phase. And then I might, depending on if they have good strength or not, or if they have good endurance or not, I might throw in, okay, we're going to do an endurance phase for a month. And then we're going to do the hypertrophy phase for a month, right? And so the reason why each phase, you never really want any phase to be longer than 6 weeks, again, because your body adapts to it, right? That's the whole point of doing it. So I would normally do 4 weeks of hypertrophy, 4 weeks of endurance, and 4 weeks of hypertrophy. And so in that 12-week time period, they were able to spend 8 weeks focused on muscle building and only 4 weeks doing endurance training or doing strength training, whatever we add in there. Okay. So that's a very, very easy way to do it. So the easiest thing that I normally suggest is for people to look at it at 3 months at a time. Okay. Especially if you're kind of coaching yourself and doing your own thing. If you don't want to have to figure all this stuff out, then, hire a coach, come to me. Obviously, I understand all this, but if you want to figure this thing out, then I always say, do it for 3 months at a time and say, okay, in 3 months, what is my true goal? Do I want to get stronger? Do I want to build more muscle? Do I want to build more endurance? Do I want to build more power? Do I want to build more stability? Okay. And when you ask that question, then you say, okay, well, for 2 of those 3 months, I'm going to focus on, let's just say that you want to build stability. So for 2 of those 3 months, you're going to do the stability phase. You'll do it at the beginning, the first 4 weeks or the first month, and you'll do it the last month. In that middle month, you can do, strength or hypertrophy or whatever you assess that you feel you need to do. Okay.